The superintendent at Augusta National Golf Club manages 44 bunkers, 32 greenside, 12 in the fairways, and not one of them contains sand. What you're looking at when you watch the Masters, that impossibly white material glowing against the green, is granulated quartz. It's a crushed mineral pulled from mines in the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina. And the same material, from the same town, from the same geological deposit, is used to manufacture the semiconductor chips inside your phone, your laptop, and every artificial intelligence processor on Earth. You've been watching golfers hit wedge shots out of it since 1975. Nobody told you what it actually was. Your course uses sand. Augusta National uses a material designated SP55, a trade name for spruce pine quartz named after the mining district in northwestern North Carolina where it's extracted. The difference isn't cosmetic, it's geological. Most bunker sand is sedimentary, river sand, beach sand, rounded particles worn smooth by water over thousands of years. Under a microscope, those grains look like small potatoes, soft, uniform, with no edges. They shift under pressure, they bury your ball, they wash off steep bunker faces in the rain. Augusta's quartz is igneous. It formed roughly 380 million years ago when molten rock intruded into the crust of what's now the Blue Ridge Mountains, a byproduct of the continental collisions that built the Appalachian chain. The heat was extreme, and critically, there was no water present during formation. That absence prevented the transfer of impurities into the crystallizing quartz. The result is a mineral so pure that at its highest grades it contains only 80 molecules of impurities per billion molecules of silica. When the feldspar surrounding it is mined, feldspar is used in aluminum and ceramic production, the quartz is left behind. For most of the 20th century, it was waste. Mining companies in Mitchell County paid to bury it. Under that same microscope, spruce pine quartz looks nothing like beach sand. The particles are angular, sharp. A retired head geologist for the Feldspar Corporation named Alex Glover described them as resembling broken glass. That shape isn't accidental. When the pegmatite rock is crushed and the quartz is separated from the feldspar, the fracturing process creates jagged edges on every grain. Sedimentary sand has been tumbled by rivers and tides for thousands of years until all the edges wear smooth. Spruce pine quartz was never in a river. It was locked inside pegmatite for hundreds of millions of years and then shattered by machinery. The angular faces on every particle are essentially fresh fractures. That angularity is why the material performs differently in a bunker. Angular particles interlock. They grip steep faces instead of sliding down. The USGA measures this property using the angle of repose, the maximum slope at which loose material will hold its position. For bunker sands, that range runs from 29 to about 35 degrees. Spruce pine quartz sits at the high end. It stays on vertical bunker walls where rounded sand would cascade to the floor overnight. The USGA green section specifies that bunker sand should contain particles between 0.25 and 1.0 millimeters, with less than 2% gravel-sized particles above 2 millimeters, less than 3% silt and clay, and a minimum infiltration rate of 20 inches per hour. Augusta's quartz exceeds every one of those standards. The angularity also determines what the USGA calls the penetrometer value, a measurement of how firmly the surface resists a golf ball's impact. They push a modified penetrometer fitted with a golf ball into the sand until half the ball is buried, and they measure the resistance. Angular broad distribution sands like spruce pine quartz score the highest. Rounded uniform sands score the lowest. And it does something no other bunker material in the world does reliably. It prevents plugged lies completely. Zach Johnson won the Masters in 2007. He's played out of bunkers on every tour course in America. He said Augusta's sand is soft on top with a firm base. You can't necessarily spin it much, but it's pure. Balls don't plug, ever. They hit the face, refuse to embed, and roll back to the center of the bunker floor. Mike Weir, the 2003 Masters champion, described the feel as different from anything else on tour. You have to be more aggressive with your technique because the ball comes out a little slower than it does from sedimentary sand. Jim Bones Mackay, who caddied for Phil Mickelson for 25 years, said he'd rake it with his hand if he needed to. That's how consistent it is. But Augusta's bunkers weren't always like this. The course was designed by Alister MacKenzie, an English golf course architect who'd originally trained as a surgeon and served as a physician in the Boer War, where he studied camouflage. MacKenzie believed bunkers should look natural, irregular edges, shallow depth, blending into the landscape as if the ground had simply opened up on its own. His original design for Augusta had only 22 sand hazards, fewer than almost any course you'll ever play. He and Bobby Jones deliberately avoided penal bunkering. They wanted width off the tee and options into the green. not walls of sand punishing every slight miss. MacKenzie died on January 6, 1934, barely a year after the course opened. He never saw a Masters tournament. The first one was held that March, less than 3 months after his death, and in the decades after his death, the bunkers evolved away from his vision. Robert Trent Jones was hired to modernize the course in the 1940s. George Cobb became the consulting architect in the 50s. Bunkers were enlarged, simplified, shifted. By the 60s, mechanical hand edgers were creating sharper lips, but also slowly expanding the bunker footprint with each pass. The spinning blades scalped slivers of earth away every time. The sand in them was still ordinary, off-white, coarse, locally sourced from somewhere in Georgia. Players regularly got buried lies. The bunkers drained poorly in the heavy clay soil, and standing water was a recurring problem. Photographs from the 1960s show puddles sitting in the trap on the 16th hole after routine afternoon rain. Clifford Roberts changed that. Roberts co-founded Augusta National with Bobby Jones and ran the club with absolute authority for decades. He had a seasonal home in Avery County, North Carolina, about an hour from the Spruce Pine mining district. He played golf at Linville Golf Club, a private course in the mountains that used the local quartz in its bunkers. Roberts noticed the difference immediately: the color, the firmness, the way balls sat cleanly instead of burying. He contacted a Spruce Pine businessman and Linville Golf Club manager named Claude Green. Roberts wanted that material at Augusta. Green arranged it. 13 boxcars, of the kind that had been used to haul coal, were loaded with spruce pine quartz and shipped south to Augusta, Georgia. Green refused any payment. The quartz was a mining byproduct. His company had been digging holes to get rid of it. Roberts, in exchange, offered to host Green at Augusta any time, and later gave him 6 Masters passes. The quartz was installed before the 1975 Masters. That April was the first time the television audience saw Augusta's bunkers glowing white. The sand transformed the look of the course. But a deeper problem remained underneath it. Georgia clay doesn't drain. Every summer before the next Masters, the maintenance crew had to remove all the sand from every bunker, dig out the contaminated drainage, rebuild it, and replace the sand. 44 bunkers, every year. Then Billy Fuller arrived. Fuller was hired as Augusta National's golf course superintendent in 1981. The club was converting its greens from Bermuda grass to bent grass, and they needed someone who understood bent grass management in the South. Fuller got the job, and almost immediately he inherited the bunker drainage problem. Clay contaminating the sand. Annual rebuilds, months of labor. One day during his first summer, Fuller was driving to a superintendent's meeting when he passed a Department of Transportation crew installing a liner on a steep highway slope. He pulled over and asked them what the material was. Specifically, he asked whether water could pass through it. They told him it could, hundreds of inches per hour. Fuller ordered some and installed it in a single bunker, the one to the left of the first green. He laid a herringbone pattern of drain tile on the bunker floor, covered it with 2 inches of pea gravel, placed the geotextile liner over the gravel to separate it from the sand, and put the spruce pine quartz back on top. The gravel gave water somewhere to go. The liner kept the sand clean. The drain tiles carried the water out. It worked. In the summer of 1982, Fuller and his crew rebuilt every bunker on the course using this method. All 44. One summer. After rainstorms, 90% of the sand stayed in place on the bunker faces, no more shoveling it back up the slopes. Post-rain maintenance dropped by over 80%. Augusta stopped rebuilding bunkers every year. The industry noticed, other courses started calling, and the method became known simply as the Billy Bunker. Fuller left Augusta in 1986. His successor, Marsh Benson, continued the engineering revolution underground in developing the SubAir System in 1994, an irrigation and ventilation network that could control soil moisture beneath every green independently. SubAir Systems grew into its own company in nearby Graniteville, South Carolina, installing the same technology at Pebble Beach, East Lake, and professional sports stadiums. Fuller's bunker system and Benson's SubAir system are the 2 most significant maintenance inventions in golf course history. Both were built at Augusta National. Both are now industry standards. But the bunker system he built kept evolving. By 2007, a golf course architect named Jerry Lemons identified the one remaining weakness. The geotextile liner could tear. Rakes snagged it. Clubs cut it. Edges frayed. Lemons partnered with Dow Chemical to develop a polymer spray that could bind the pea gravel into a solid but porous layer. No liner needed. Water passes through the polymer-bound gravel at 2,500 inches per hour. For context, the USGA minimum for bunker sand infiltration is 20 inches per hour. The upgraded system was named Better Billy Bunker. More than 600 courses worldwide have installed it. The technology that started with one superintendent pulling over on a highway in Georgia is now the global standard for bunker construction. Spruce Pine quartz doesn't stop at Augusta's property line. It traces back about 250 miles north into the semiconductor supply chain that runs every piece of technology on Earth. The Spruce Pine mining district is approximately 25 miles long and 5 miles wide. It sits in Mitchell County in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Two companies operate the major mines: Sibelco, a Belgian conglomerate and the county's largest employer, and the Quartz Corp, a joint venture between Imerys of France and Norsk Mineral of Norway. Between them, these two operations supply 70 to 90% of the world's high-purity quartz. The rock composition in the district is roughly 65% feldspar, 25% quartz, and 8 to 10% mica. When the feldspar is extracted, the quartz is separated out. The purest grades, the ones with 80 impurities per billion, are processed into fused quartz and shaped into crucibles. Those crucibles are used in the Czochralski process, the dominant method for producing single crystal silicon. A seed crystal is dipped into molten silicon held inside a spruce pine quartz crucible, then slowly drawn upward while rotating. The silicon crystallizes around the seed as it rises, forming an ingot, a pure cylinder of silicon sometimes a meter long. That ingot is sliced into wafers thinner than a credit card. Those wafers become the semiconductor chips inside every phone, every server running artificial intelligence, every GPU training a language model. All of them pass through a crucible made from spruce pine quartz. The crucibles can't be reused. Each one lasts about 300 to 400 hours, roughly 2 weeks of continuous operation before the purity degrades, and it has to be replaced. The semiconductor industry consumes thousands of them every year. A Wharton professor named Ethan Mollick has said that the modern economy rests on a single road in Spruce Pine, North Carolina. That road leads to the Sibelco facility. It's not an exaggeration. Ed Conway, in his 2023 book Material World, wrote that it's rare, almost unheard of, for a single site to control the global supply of a crucial material. Yet that's exactly what spruce pine does for high purity quartz. The sand that isn't quite pure enough for chips, the material with slightly more impurities, still orders of magnitude purer than anything else on Earth, goes to golf courses. Augusta gets the best of the rejects. Your course, if it uses white quartz at all, gets something further down the purity chain. Regular bunker sand costs $12 to $30 per ton plus trucking. A better club might pay $100 per ton for silica-based white sand. Augusta's spruce pine quartz has been reported at up to $10,000 per ton, 500 times what your course pays. In September 2024, Hurricane Helene swept through the southeastern United States as a Category 4 storm. It hit Spruce Pine directly. The town of 2,200 lost power, water, and road access. More than 2 feet of rain fell. The North Toe River flooded the valley floor. The CSX rail line running along the river, the primary route for shipping quartz out of the district, was heavily damaged. Roads in and out of the town were blocked by landslides and debris. Both Sibelco and the Quartz Corp shut down operations on September 26th. The Quartz Corp released a statement saying they had no visibility on when operations would restart. The semiconductor industry noticed immediately. Lita Sean Roy, CEO of the market research firm TechSet, had been tracking the quartz supply chain for more than 2 decades. She said that if something happened to these mines, it could put the entire semiconductor industry on its ear. There's no other capability. She'd been raising this concern for 20 years. Every time she asked where else the industry could source high-purity quartz, the answer came back the same: there is nowhere else. Synthetic alternatives exist, but can't be manufactured at anywhere near the volume the industry requires. A 2008 fire at a quartz refinery in Spruce Pine had already demonstrated the fragility. That single event temporarily cut off the global supply. The $600 billion global semiconductor industry, the solar panel supply chain, every AI data center on the planet, all of it traces back to a 25-mile stretch of the Blue Ridge Mountains in North Carolina, the same 25 miles that fill 44 bunkers at a golf club in Augusta, Georgia. Sibelco later confirmed its facility sustained only minor damage and began restoration. The company has since announced $700 million in investment to expand high-purity quartz capacity at Spruce Pine. But the vulnerability was exposed. A single hurricane in a single small town had the potential to shut down modern computing. And at Augusta National, a 3-person crew still walks out to each bunker every evening during the Masters. They smooth the quartz with deck brooms turned upside down. They compact the vertical faces with hand rollers. They finish with rakes, erasing every footprint, every explosion mark, every trace of the day's play. The largest bunker, but the fairway trap on the 8th hole, covers 6,107 square feet and holds more than 100 tons of quartz. The deepest, the fairway bunker on 18, drops 11 feet from its highest lip to its floor. Sandy Lyle hit a 7-iron from that bunker in 1980. 8. To set up the birdie that won him a green jacket. In 2012, a patron named Clayton Baker attended the Masters. After the final group passed through the 10th hole, Baker ducked under the gallery ropes, walked across the fairway, and scooped a cup of quartz from a bunker into his beer cup. He wanted to give it to his son. He was tackled, handcuffed, arrested for disorderly conduct, jailed overnight. His total legal costs came to approximately $20,000 for a cup of mining waste that Clifford Roberts got shipped to Augusta for free in coal boxcars 50 years earlier. Your course probably rakes its bunkers 3 or 4 times a week. The sand is likely sedimentary, brown, rounded, soft. It plugs your ball on every other shot. It washes down the faces when it rains. Your superintendent spends 15 to 20% of total maintenance hours managing it. That's the national average according to the Golf Course Superintendents Association of America. At major championship standards, bunker maintenance alone costs $350,000 to $400,000 per year. And every course in America is trying to make its bunkers look like Augusta's. They call it the Augusta Syndrome, the impossible standard set by a television broadcast that drives maintenance budgets up and superintendent careers sideways. Courses install white sand they can't afford to maintain, reshape bunker faces to angles that require daily hand-raking, and promise members a playing experience that was engineered over decades by people named Clifford Roberts, Billy Fuller, and Marsh Benson. People with resources and obsession that no municipal budget or private club committee will ever match. Augusta's superintendent manages igneous quartz at $10,000 per ton, engineered over a drainage system invented on the course in 1982, sourced from a 380 million-year-old geological formation that also supplies 70 to 90% of the world's semiconductor chips. Your superintendent manages sedimentary sand at $20 per ton over a standard drain pipe in Georgia clay. Same job title, same profession, same white polo and early mornings, same Golf Course Superintendents Association of America membership card. Not the same material, not the same engineering, not the same planet. Now you know what they do before you tee off.